Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel Kim here, and today I wanted to talk to you about L&M Fine Jewelry. The L stands for Landy, the M stands for Michael, and the An stands for their son, Carson, or as he jokingly says, it stands for Carson. It's a family-owned jewelry company. It's your diamond destination. I know it's my destination. I went there to get my fiance's engagement ring. They took great care of me. Their customer service is amazing. They're very attentive to what you need and what you're looking for, and they know exactly how to get you that. And also, their communication is top notch. They take great pride in taking good care of their customers. They took great care of me and my fiance every time we went in there. Great smiles on all their faces. They do a great job. If you're in the Missoula area, or even if you're in the state of Montana, you have to drive over to Missoula, come to L&M Fine Jewelry, get that ring for that special person. It's your diamond destination. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel Kim here, and I'm back with another one. Today, I got a great video for you guys today. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter one today, and I'm actually recording this on a Thursday because I'm going out of town this weekend and won't be back until probably Sunday late. You guys don't need to worry about where I'm going, but I'm going to have a great time. Either way, got a great topic. Got a couple of great topics for you guys today. Not a couple. Got about 5 great topics. I usually do around 7 to 10. Keeping it around 5 today. Obviously, today is Thursday, and the settlement reports have just came out today. So the NCAA Power 5 conferences to let schools pay players amid $2.7 billion settlement. Gonna discuss that first. I'm gonna talk about the best player from each Big Sky team coming into 2024. So each team, the best player from that team returning in 2024. Mark Gronowski deciding to stay at South Dakota State. We're going to talk about that. A breakdown of the 2024 FBS to FCS transfers by position. That's from Sam Herder, the great Sam Herder. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about a former American Conference commissioner and his comments on a G5 playoff. This is something I've discussed a lot. I personally think the FCS and G5 need to merge, but we're going to talk about that. Make sure you guys hit the like. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe. Make sure you guys leave me a comment down below of your thoughts, and we will get straight into it. First things first. This just happened today, which is Thursday, like I said, May 23rd. I just had to look at the date. I'm not good with the date. Either way, the NCAA and its 5 power conferences, the ACC, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, and Pac-12, have agreed on a multi-billion-dollar settlement that would resolve 3 federal antitrust cases and allow schools to directly pay student athletes, according to ESPN's Dan Murphy and Pete Thamel. Now, this is actually crazy because I guess these antitrust lawsuits are about the NCAA not allowing players to get paid for so long. And I guess now this is going to allow schools to directly pay players in response to this lawsuit. But I'm going to read a little bit more. The NCAA will pay $2.7 billion over 10 years in damages to both current and former athletes per that report. Now, I don't know why current players are going to get damages because they get NIL. So isn't this lawsuit about NIL? Why would they get damages for for things that they never had to feel the brunt of? Like some of these guys have never lived in a world without NIL. So why are these guys going to be getting damages for things that they were never affected by? I don't know. Sources said that parties also have agreed to a revenue sharing plan allowing each school to share up to $20 million per year with its athletes. Now that is crazy. Obviously this is a rev share type thing, so up to $20 million is the cap, but I don't know if each school is making $20 million in revenue a year. I mean, I don't know the revenue breakdown of some of these schools. I'm sure a lot of the Power 5 schools are making more than $20 million in revenue each year, but allows them to share up to $20 million. So they don't have to share, but that's the max that they can share with their athletes. So that's basically the cap, if you will, for professional football terms. All Division I athletes, well, and actually this just says allow each school to share up to $20 million per year with its athletes. So that's not just football, that's all sports. You got $20 million to share with, I believe, all sports. And I believe these payouts also are for all sports, not just football players. I know a lot of times I talk about a lot of football topics, but this has to do with all athletes, not just football players. Well, I think so. I'm gonna keep reading though. All Division I athletes dating back to 2016 are eligible to receive a share as part of the settlement class. In exchange, athletes cannot sue the NCAA for other potential antitrust violations and drop their complaints in 3 open cases: House v. NCAA, Hubbard v. NCAA, and Carter v. NCAA. So those are the 3 lawsuits that have been levied against the NCAA. And with this settlement that is said to be cleared in the next couple of months, I guess like these are just the terms that are being made public at this point, but I guess nothing is final until the judge signs off on it. I think they said that might happen in July. But those are the 3 lawsuits that have been levied against the NCAA. The settlement terms must be approved, like I was just saying, by Judge Claudia Wilkin, who is presiding over all 3 cases. The process is expected to take several months, and sources said schools likely will begin sharing revenue in fall 2025. So, like I mentioned this was probably a couple of weeks ago, but like my question is, what does that rev share look like with these athletes? Like, what does that rev share look? Because they're saying like they're allowed to share 20 million with all athletes on campus. So what does that look like? And is it like you're gonna set aside a certain dollar amount for each sport? And then also, like, how does this affect Title IX? Does there have to be 10 million for, I mean, say a school is sharing 20 million, like in Alabama or an OU or Oklahoma University. I know I'm in the Northwest, so they might not resonate with OU, but Oklahoma, schools like that, does Title IX take an effect with this? So like, do they have to share 10 million with male athletes and then 10 million with female athletes? Or like, how does that work? Because I'm sure, I mean, this is still the NCAA. So the reason they're settling is so that they can still, they're settling for a reason, but also, Title IX is still a thing. So fairness within scholarships is still a thing, but like, is this now become a thing with like fairness between pay and revenue share structure? Like, do you have to share the same amount with male sports as you do with female sports? What does that look like? Obviously, I don't know. Obviously, that's probably language that'll be explained further down the road when this becomes law. But who knows? Several athletic directors told ESPN that they are hopeful the settlement lays the groundwork for a system in which success on the field is less dependent on which school can spend the most money. I think that's what a lot of the athletic directors are trying to get away from. Obviously, that's why they told ESPN that. But it's like right now, the way the structure is like, but it's still, I don't know how this is going to lay the groundwork for that, because it's still like, certain schools make more money than other schools. Certain schools bring in more revenue than other schools. So if you are able to share, if you have, I guess there's a cap to how much revenue you can share. So that's kind of the groundwork, because I'm sure a lot of these schools are making more than 20 million in revenue. A lot of these bigger schools are making more than 20 million in revenue. So I do understand what he's saying from that standpoint, in terms of like, there's a cap. That's the 20 million max that you can share with your school, with your athletes. I think these athletic directors are saying that since there's a cap, there's only so much a school can spend on recruiting athletes. There's only so much money you can spend. So they can't, like, at some point you won't be able to outbid somebody. At some point the money spending is going to stop. At some point the dollar amount is going to be capped, and it's going to come down to how good do you recruit? How good do you develop players? How good is your scheme? Like, what does your coaching staff look like? How good are the players who aren't making a lot of money? Like, how good are some of your backups? How good are some of your lower tier players that aren't making, like I said, who aren't making a lot of money? I think at this point, does everybody make money? Does everybody, I think the way it seems like is everybody's going to have to make something. And then, like, what is this, like, what are scholarships? Like, what do scholarships look like? Like, these are questions I have. But I think what the athletic directors are trying to say is, like, this is laying, like he said. So I tried to dispute it at first, but there's no really dispute for it. This is definitely laying the groundwork for a cap in pay to be set, to be there. And then obviously, like, a cap, they're setting a cap, and there's only so high somebody can pay somebody. There's only so much money you can spend on your roster. At some point, like, it's going to come down to which school do you want? Because we can only offer so much, because there's only so much we can share. And obviously one person's not going to make that full 20 million. So it's like, where does that break down to? Who's the person managing this spend? Is it the athletic director? Is it associate athletic director? Do you bring in somebody else? And is this going to form a new position at the college level to decide where the money is being spent? And then is that going to be like a topic of contention between a certain coach, like a basketball coach or a football coach, in terms of, and like the person, like, because obviously if you have 20 million as a school to spend on athletes, say basketball coach wants to pay such and such this amount, say football coach wants to pay such and such this amount, the person who's running this, the athletic, let's just say the athletic director for right now, or the associate athletic director, they are like, no, we can't, like, somebody's going to have to take the short end of the stick. So like a Kentucky or Duke, where they're more of a basketball school than they are a football school. What do the basketball players make? What do the football players make? Or like an OU, where the football team is pretty good, but the softball team wins national championships. You know, what does that look like? Basketball team is not great. You know, softball, football are really the two big sports at OU. Oklahoma State, their wrestling team is really good. Football team is all right. I don't know too much about a lot of the Oklahoma State sports, but you get what I'm trying to say is like, there's only so much money to go around. I gotta believe that, one, a position is gonna be hired for this, or it's gonna put more weight on athletic directors and the athletic department. Well, 100% is probably gonna put more on the athletic department to manage where this money is going. But what I want to know is, where is the money going? Like, who decides that, and how do you divvy it up between the athletes on each sports team? Big question for me. Most money. Sources said some of the challenges to solve include figuring out how to distribute the revenue sharing money in a way that meets market needs while complying with Title IX law. So yes, Title IX laws. That's what I was just talking about. Title IX, they have to comply with Title IX laws, and whether schools can regain control of the marketplace for college athletes, which has been outscored during the past 3 years to booster collectives. So basically, these collectives have been running things because these collectives are the ones building on the money. It's basically a booster club, a third-party entity to raise money on behalf of the university, and the schools want to take back they want the power back. The athletic departments, they want the power back. Right now, they probably feel like they have no power because they're not the ones really spending the money. They're not the ones in control of the NIL. Up to this point, they haven't been allowed to be involved in any of the NIL, except for on the regulation side of things. They haven't been able to have a hand in where money is going. They haven't been able to have a hand in, you know, how this money is being dispersed, who's the one paying it out. They haven't. Now, there was a ruling a couple of weeks ago with the Division I committee that said they could have a hand in dealing with these third parties. But now with this, it can come straight from the athletic department. Obviously, I think they said that, like, I think I read that earlier, that they said this probably wouldn't be in effect till 2025. But still, this, like this athletic director said, this is laying the groundwork for the athletic directors to be able to be directly involved in where money is going, how it's being spent, and it kind of rules out these NIL collectives. Now, my next question also is, will NIL collectives still be a thing, or does this completely just wipe them away? Who knows? I mean, I think you still need a booster club to, like, you're still gonna, I mean, I don't know, like, do you still need to raise money? What does that look like? I have no idea. Whether schools can regain control of the marketplace for college athletes, which has been outscored, which pay athletes via name, image, and likeness endorsement deals. So I didn't finish that quote, but yeah. You guys let me know what you think about this. What do you think the revenue sharing is going to look like at the college level? Like, what do you think that's going to look like? That's my main question. What do you think it's going to look like at the college level? Do you think it's going to be a mess? Do you think they're going to have to hire a new position for this, or what? Like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think it'll be a good change, a bad change? Are you excited about this? I think it definitely, like I've been saying this whole offseason, paints a definite picture of what college football is going to look like in the next few years. But yeah, I don't know. You guys leave a comment and we will move on. I am going to be naming the best player from each Big Sky team coming into the 2024 season. Each team, one player. You can disagree with me. Let me know in the comments if you disagree with me. Let me know in the comments if you think I left somebody out. Also, I wanted to point out, if you guys watched my video last week, I mentioned Chaden James as one of the best returning receivers into the Big Sky. I was incorrect about that. Chaden James is now at Fresno State. The reason I didn't notice that is because I've been checking him all off season to see if he had transferred, and he didn't actually transfer until April 30th, so only a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, I should have seen that. I should have searched him up before I posted my video, but Chaden James, not at Idaho State anymore. So my top 9 receivers, go back to that and look at it. My top 9 receivers returned to the Big Sky. My top 9 receivers returned to the Big Sky minus Chaden James. So I can't remember who was number 2 on that list. Might have been Keelan White, or I guess number 2 on that list. I can't remember who's number 2 on that list, but you guys go check that out. Let me know what you thought about it. Oh, Efton Chisholm. Efton Chisholm would now be the number 1 receiver returning to the Big Sky. We'll see how that shapes up this year. But my best player from each Big Sky team coming into 2024, number 1, well, not even number 1. They're not ranking. It's just one player from each team. MSU, Montana State. Obviously, you know who I'm going to say. Tommy Mellott, the guy, probably the best quarterback in the conference right now. The Eastern Washington Kekoa Visperus might have something to say about that. I'm so sorry. Let me say right now. I saw him on Sam Herder's top 25 list last week, Kekoa Visperus. I'm not talking about Tommy Mellott. I'm on a little tangent right now. I saw him on Sam Herder's list last week, and I was not familiar with your game, bro. I was not. Young guy, too. I didn't put his grade on here. He is my Eastern Washington player. Young guy, too. Throws it all over the place. Obviously, we know that's what Eastern Washington loves to do, but I'll get to him in a minute. For Montana State, Tommy Mellott, 1,068 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I think that's miraculous. Obviously, they don't throw the ball a ton, but to only throw 2 interceptions is crazy. 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's great. That's a great I think that's 5-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. That's amazing. And then 85 rush yards, 609 or 85 rushes. Could you imagine Tommy Mellott only rushing for 85 rush yards in a season? Somebody would say he had to have got hurt. Knock on wood, we don't want to see that. Either way, 85 rushes, 690 yards, 5 touchdowns. Absolutely crazy season. It would have been even better of a season. He was pretty banged up this year, and he got hurt towards the end of the season, but I think he was pretty hurt towards the middle of the season, so I think he's a guy who could honestly throw for 1,000 and rush for 1,000 in the same season. I would love to see that, but he's been pretty banged up throughout his career. I'm hoping that they run him less. Obviously, we would want to see 1,000 season, but I hope he doesn't ever do that, because that means they're running the heck out of him, and he's most likely going to be banged up. I mean, we've seen him get banged up, I think, every year besides his freshman year when he came in for the Natty, or when he came in for that Natty run, and even in the Natty run, he got hurt in the Natty. So it's like, I hope they just manage him well. I hope they manage him well. I hope they don't run him into the dirt. I hope they stop with the power run. I hope they keep that zone read in there. He does that really well. But Tommy Mellott is the best player. First team all-conference quarterback for the Cats this year. Really good player. So, yeah, that's my Montana State player. For Montana, the best player for the Montana Grizzlies is going to be Mr. Junior Bergen, the wide receiver, punt returner from Montana. That's what I forgot. I meant to put his punt return stats on here, or his returner. I only put returner because he's punt returner, kick returner. I think he was all conference as a punt returner. I should have put these on here. First team all conference wide receiver, but I think he was a returner as well. I think punt returner. I think punt returner he was also punt returner. But 59 receptions, 791 yards, 5 touchdowns, 13.4 yards per catch. We all know what Junior Bergen can do in the return game. Get the ball in his hands, he'll make things happen. We saw that with his honestly his kickoff, I think it was all punt return ability in the playoffs. One against Furman, one against North Dakota State in back-to-back weeks. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And then he had one against Utah Tech. He had a few during the regular season, but man, ball player. Get the ball in his hands. He can make things happen. Expecting big things from him this year. Hoping one of those Montana receivers can get 1,000 yards this year. As a former Grizz, I hope I get to see that. But as an objective viewer, Really love watching Junior play the game. He's a really good player. Obviously, I'd say he's probably one of the best players in the conference, if not the best all-around athlete in the conference. I would probably give that to Junior Bergen. You guys can let me know if you would pick anybody over that, but I don't think many people besides him are probably Tommy, probably the two best athletes in the conference. I don't think you can really argue that, and I would probably take Junior just because of his ability to return the football from the kickoff and punt return position, play receiver. He played running back as a freshman, so like he's very versatile. You can put him all over the field. He's a ball player. He played quarterback in high school, so he can do it all. Not to say he's the best thrower, but he can do a lot of things. Wildcat quarterback, he's thrown some touchdowns with the double passes that they have. So that's my Montana player. For UC Davis, I have Lan Larison, the running back. First team all-conference running back, 178 carries, 1,100 yards, 13 touchdowns, 6.2 yards per carry. 6.2 yards per carry is nice. Let me tell you right now, that is very nice. Very, very nice. Really good running back. I'm pretty sure he got hurt late in the season. UC Davis probably would have been a better outfit later on in the season had they had him. I'm almost positive he was pretty hurt late in the season. But UC Davis got snubbed too, not making the playoffs last year. So I know they're returning their quarterback, returning Lan Larison. They should have some pretty good pieces this year. I don't know what the rest of their team looks like, honestly, but UC Davis should be a pretty decent team with their quarterback and running back. I mean, I feel like if you got a quarterback and running back, you can build around that. I mean, you need an offensive line. I don't know. I have to do a little bit more research on UC Davis as a squad, but Lan Larison is a player for sure, and he's my best player, I think, on the UC Davis squad coming into 2024. Now, Eastern Washington. Please correct me in the comments if I'm saying my guy's name wrong. Kekoa Visperas. I don't know where he's from. I don't want to I don't even know how to say that, like say where he's like. I don't know. I think it seems like a Pacific Islander first and last name to me, but I don't know for sure. So somebody let me know in the comments. All Big Sky honorable mention quarterback. He threw for 2,700 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Probably a little bit too many interceptions there, but I think he was a sophomore last year, so a younger guy. Still room to grow. He's got two good receivers, Nolan Olm and Efton Chisholm, obviously on his squad. They throw the ball around a lot. I think their defense is something that really, really hurt them last year. They were able to put up points, but they couldn't stop a cold at all. And they don't tackle well. They didn't tackle well, at least then. So that's something that they're going to have to improve on. But Kekoa Visperas, the quarterback for Eastern Washington, really good player, best player on their squad. I did juggle with Efton Chisholm, putting Efton Chisholm on there for a minute. But the reason I put Kekoa on there is because Kekoa is the one throwing Efton the ball. Respectfully. Efton Chisholm, one of the best receivers in the Big Sky. I mentioned at the beginning of this, probably the best receiver returning in the Big Sky this year. Since Chaden James is not returning, he's going to a different conference, going to the Missouri or Mountain West. But Efton Chisholm, probably the best receiver returning in the Big Sky, but Kekoa was throwing you the ball, so got to put him over you, respectfully. Yeah, that's my Eastern Washington pick. If you guys would have chosen Efton, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Now, to Portland State. And I know I'm looking at this list right now. Man, an honorable mention for Montana State is Brody Grebe. I really like his game. He's a great player. I just want to throw that in there. That's my honorable mention for Montana State, but I'm going to move on. Because I've realized what I was about to say is I haven't put a defensive player on here, and you're not going to see one for a couple more picks. So please hang in there with me. Either way, Portland State, you got Dante Chachere at quarterback. Very similar game to a Tommy Mellott. Throws the ball, runs the ball. They do it all. 1,500 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 17 that would be crazy. 7 interceptions, 113 carries, 629 yards, 10 touchdowns, 5.6 yards per carry. One thing that I thought was very interesting and I thought spoke volumes, and here I am again about to talk about Tommy Mellott from Montana State. Tommy Mellott, so Dante Chachere had 113 carries, 629 yards, and 10 touchdowns. So more touchdowns than Tommy, but Tommy had 85 rushes for 690 yards and 5 touchdowns. So almost 30 less carries than Dante, and really only like 60 more rushing yards, less touchdowns. But I wish I would have put Tommy's yards per carry on there, because if Dante's is 5.6, Tommy's has to be about 6 or 7 yards a carry, which is ridiculous for a quarterback, man. And that just speaks volumes to how good Tommy is. Dante Chachere was not honorable mention all conference or anything like that, but he's a really good player, and he's somebody you got to be aware of when you play Portland State. They ran the ball really well last year, partly probably because of him and their run game. Their offensive line wasn't bad, so they were able to get push in the offensive line in the run game last year. We'll see how they progress this year. Obviously, they got Chachere. But you need more than just a quarterback at the FCS level. I mean, the quarterback is the piece that you need, but you need defense. And another outfit with Portland State. So Eastern Washington, they had good offense last year, couldn't stop a cold. Portland State had inconsistent offense last year, but their defense really did not get the job done. So defense is the key. I was talking to Coulter Nuanez about this the other day. I texted him about it, and I'm like, you know what separates the better defenses from the worst defenses? It's the defenses that tackle well. And I might have said this last week on my Tuesday video. Defenses that tackle well are usually the better defenses in the subdivision. Usually the better defenses in the FCS. Like South Dakota State tackled well, really good. North Dakota State tackled well. Didn't have a great regular season, but they showed up in the playoffs. Montana State, a better tackling team, is one of the better teams in the Big Sky. Montana, obviously a really good tackling team, really good outfit. Furman in the SoCon, really good tackling squad, really good squad overall. I mean, Villanova, good tackling squad, great squad from the CAA. I could go on and on, but it's like you look at those teams that tackle well, those are usually the teams that are going to be the better defenses, because that's what it comes down to. There's usually somebody there. Usually guys are in the right spot. You just have to be in the right spot and make the play at the same time. I'm going off on a tangent. I'm going to continue. Sac State is our next school. We have Caden Bennett, the quarterback at Sac State, threw for 2,100, almost 2,200 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 131 carries in the run game, 564 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4.3 yards per carry. Caden Bennett, somebody who started splitting time later on in the season. I don't know if that's because he was dealing with an injury or because they were trying to get their young quarterback Conklin some reps. Either way, they were a pretty good. I mean, they made the playoffs, but whenever it came down to like tough competition, like Montana State, Montana, did they play Idaho? I don't know if they played Idaho last year. They might have played Idaho last year. But Sac State couldn't get it done in the big game last year, and that's something we hadn't seen from them from the last 3 years, 2019, 2021, and 2022. They were the team to beat in the conference, those three, or not even 2022, 2018, 2019, and 2021. None of the Big Sky, I think, played over the COVID year, but yeah, like, they were the team to beat. And, you know, last year they just couldn't get over the hump when they came against some stiff competition. Caden Bennett, like Dante Chachere, was not all conference anything. Threw for a lot of passing yards. Honestly, might have threw for the most yards in the conference. No. Kakoa had more than him. Kikoa. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. But Caden Bennett played pretty good last year. Did not stink it up at all. Played pretty well. But we'll see how they do this year. They've lost one receiver, Carlos Hill. They lost some defensive pieces that are probably going to hurt on that side. They also lost Terrace Marshall, really good tight end, H-back probably in the league. But they should be pretty decent. I think they returned a couple of running backs. They returned Jared Gibson at receiver. I don't know who they got at tight end, but they got some decent weapons on offense. I think it'll come down to their offensive line, their linebacker position. They had some good linebackers last year, Armand Bailey being the main one, first team all-conference. Looking to replace him. How are they going to do that? I'm interested. Either way, we'll move on. Next on the list is Weber State linebacker / edge, Jack Kelly. 34 solo tackles, 8.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 1 interception. I did not get to see if he was all conference. I gotta believe he probably would have been honorable mention. Let me look at it. I think I still have it pulled up. Jack Kelly, honorable mentions. Let's go to second team real quick. No. First team. Yeah, so he was first team all-conference defense linebacker, Jack Kelly from Weber State. Him, and then they had Winston Reed, who's with the Browns now. So they had a pretty good linebacking core. I think they had a pretty good defense last year, but Weber State was not the Weber State we had seen from some past years. They were not able to get the job done last year. But Jack Kelly, definitely a dog. 8.5 sacks is really good. I got to believe that's probably towards the top of the conference. I know Brody Grebe was probably up there. I don't know where, buddy from Montana State who transferred to Washington. I don't know where he was at. Vasquez. I don't remember where he was at, but I think Brody Grebe, Jack Kelly, those are probably some of the top guys in the conference in sacks. Really good team, man. Really good defensive weapons in Winston Reed and Jack Kelly. Jack Kelly's my top returning player at Weber State. We'll see how they're able to do. I know their quarterback Munoz was on Sam Herder's top 25 returning quarterbacks. Funny enough, the Big Sky had like 5 or 6 quarterbacks on Sam Herder's list of top 25 returning quarterbacks. So he respects the Big Sky and their quarterback play. Obviously, the 2 top quarterbacks in the subdivision are 2 Missouri Valley quarterbacks. But, you know, some Big Sky guys making it in on there. Quite a few Big Sky guys making it on there. But Jack Kelly, you guys let me know what you think about him. I don't think anybody would dispute that from the Weber State squad. You think about anybody else, maybe their quarterback, but the quarterback didn't play super well last year. I wasn't super impressed. That's not to crap on him or anything, but I saw better quarterback play from other quarterbacks in the conference than him. That's why he's not on there. Jack Kelly balled out, first team all conference. He's on here for sure. For Idaho State. Now, I do really like their young quarterback. I do. Jordan Cook, I think he's got a great arm. I think he could throw out a lot of different arm angles. I think he can do some things. But he threw 13 touchdowns and like 12 interceptions. Like, I can't rock with that, bro. I can't. And he didn't start the whole year. I'm pretty sure he was splitting time with another quarterback. So for the Idaho State squad, Christian Fredrickson, wide receiver, 53 receptions, 791 yards, 5 touchdowns, 14.9 yards per catch. I don't know if he was honorable mention or anything. He was not. So that's fine. I mean, you don't have to be all conference or anything to make the list. And he wasn't. And he did make the list. Idaho State, Christian Fredrickson, wide receiver. Really good player. Really big player. 6'4", 206 pounds. He great catch radius. Can do some things with the ball in his hands after the catch. Really good receiver. Probably going to be their marquee guy this year. Really like what I saw from him last year. I think it was the Montana game. They played Montana pretty early in conference. It might have been Montana's first conference game last year. And I remember watching him. I was like, man, who's this guy? This guy, big, tall receiver, making plays, like not afraid to run across the middle to get hit. Like I said, great catch radius. Doesn't make a ton of 50-50 catches. I don't think they threw him a lot of 50-50 catches last year. I didn't watch all of their games, but I don't think they threw him a ton. But decent statistics. It's funny enough, Chaden James had 102 receptions for 1,000 yards. And then you look at Christian Fredrickson, had half that at 53 receptions and had almost 800 yards. So just a little bit under 250 yards less, just a little over 250 yards less than Chaden James, and almost half the receptions he had. So just let that speak to you for a second. But I'm really high on Christian Fredrickson. He's my top player returning for Idaho State. Let me know if you guys think I missed on that, and we will move on. Idaho, Keyshawn James, newbie at D-line. I think he's a D-end. All Big Sky honorable mention. That's what I forgot to put on about him. His stats. So I'm going to look up his stats real quick if you'll give me just a second. Give me just a second. Here we go. Where was he from? Idaho. Idaho finished second in the conference. Good for them. But I'm looking for somebody right now. Keyshawn James, newbie. I think this is somebody I potentially could have missed on in terms of like who is better returning at Idaho State. Idaho. I think I saw quite a few players that could have been, that were worthy of being mentioned on this list. But I like Keyshawn James, newbie, young guy, 6'3", 250 pounds. He's from Montana, actually, too. Helena, Montana. Surprised that they let him get out of the state. I mean, why would they let him get out of the state of Montana? Why? How could they let him get out of the state of Montana? Montana State and Montana? How the heck did you let this guy get out of Montana? I don't know. 12 solo tackles, 5 sacks, no forced fumbles, no interceptions. I think he, like I said, he was all Big Sky honorable mention. Young guy too, only a sophomore, so he'll be looking to do better off of that last year. 6'3", 250, he's a unit, absolute unit at the D-line, defensive end position. Helena guy, like I said, Montana guy, man, like I can't believe they let this kid get out of the state. I'm gonna need some more information about that, about why Vegan or Bobby let this guy get out of Montana. Like, why the heck isn't he playing in maroon or gold and blue and gold? Like, why? Somebody leave a comment and let me know about that. We'll move on. Cal Poly, absolute dog at the DN position. Elijah Ponder, 32 solo tackles, 8.5 sacks. I don't think he had any forced fumbles or interceptions either, but a dog. Obviously, that Cal Poly squad finished second to last in the conference, so nothing to sneeze about there. They were 3-8 last year, but you know, Elijah Ponder was a bright spot on that squad, and he will be returning in 2024. So he was a first-team All-Conference player as well. So really shining on a very lackluster squad, especially too because like if you understand how the voting is weighed for Cal Poly, for not even for Cal Poly, for the Big Sky, if you understand how they do the voting and whose votes holds more weight, it's basically where you finish in the conference, your votes are gonna hold. Like Montana won the conference, so they're probably gonna have the most all-conference picks. And then so forth and so on with Idaho and Montana State finishing third. And then, you know, it goes down the list. But that's how votes are weighted. So Montana, because I used to always wonder, like, back in the day when I was still playing, Sac State would win the conference. And then, you know, you'd look at some of our guys' stats and they'd be higher than some of the Sac State guys' stats. But the Sac State guys are getting first team all conference. And I'm like, what? But you understand that the people who win the conference, the team that wins the conference is probably going to get the most all-conference picks because they get the most, I think it's like points. I don't know how it's weighted. Coach Pease was telling me about it one time. But yeah, but what I was going to say along those lines is Elijah Ponder, his team finished terribly last year, and he's still, you know, first team all-conference. So that means the coaches respect who he is as a player. They respect his game. They see the film. They see how he's able to affect people. Wish I would have watched more Cal Poly games. I didn't really have a reason to watch a lot of Cal Poly games last year. But maybe I will this year. You guys let me know what you think about that in the comments, and I'll move on. Okay, with NAU, Alex McLaughlin, a defensive back, 35 solo tackles, 4 interceptions, and 6 pass breakups. Now, somebody can let me know, is this guy a corner or a defensive back or a safety? I think he might be a safety because I don't know if I see a lot of corners get this many tackles, 35 solo tackles. I mean, I don't know if any corner is ever going to get that many tackles. But seems like a safety to me. He had 71 total tackles. I don't know if a corner can even get that many tackles. Like, somebody let me know if you've ever seen a corner get 71 tackles. I got to believe this guy's probably a safety. But 4 interceptions, 6 pass breakups. That's another. He's got to be first team honorable. He's got to be honorable mention or something. Let me see. I'll tell you right now. I think he was actually like second team all conference defense. He was second team all conference defense. I just forgot to put it on here. Alex McLaughlin, second team all conference defense. 4 interceptions. I think he might have led the conference with that, with the 4 interceptions. Trevin Gradney might have been tied with that. I don't know if anybody beat them with 4 to 5. I think Trevin had 4 too. You guys can let me know in the comments with that. But really good season for the guy. I think he's honestly I think he was a freshman too, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was a freshman. Yeah, freshman at 6'2", 190 pounds. Are you kidding me? NAU had some pretty good pieces on that defense, and obviously they finished. I think they were 5-3 in conference. So 5-3. Yeah, they were 5-3 in conference. Like, not a bad outfit in 2024, but they just 5-6 overall. I think they had a rough all non-conference schedule. But Alex McLaughlin, NAU, defensive back, 35 solo, 4 interceptions, 6 pass breakups. Great season for a freshman. We'll see how he does in 2024. We'll see how he does. Either way, next you have Marcus Howard, linebacker, edge rusher for Northern Colorado. Obviously, Northern Colorado went 0-11 in 2023, so nothing to sneeze at right there from them. Nothing, absolutely nothing to sneeze at. Marcus Howard was an honorable mention, all Big Sky honorable mention. 33 total tackles, 13 solo, and 5 sacks. I'm not trying to down this Northern Colorado squad, but I think I was, reaching to find somebody on this Northern Colorado squad, because there's not a lot to be proud of when you look at this squad in terms of their stats, and they got beat up by everybody. That's just a fact. Hopefully they're able to turn it around this next year. I'm not going to talk too lengthy about him, but he was all Big Sky honorable mention. So obviously the coaches knew what he brought to the table. He must have got a certain amount of votes for people to understand what he does. Obviously his coach probably voted for him, but there's probably other people. Well, maybe, I don't know if the coaches are actually allowed to vote for their own players. Actually they are. Yeah. Because of what I just said earlier. Anyway, forget that. Great player, Marcus Howard. See what he's able to do in 2024. You guys let me know what you thought about this entire list. That is the whole Big Sky, and that is my top player from each squad in the Big Sky returning in 2024. You guys let me know if I missed somebody. You guys let me know if I hit on somebody, like I got that right, 100% right. Let me know if this list is a 100% banger or if this list is a bummy list. Let me know in the comments and we will move on. I want to talk a little bit about Mark Gronowski returning to SDSU over FBS opportunities. Now I got a couple of quotes off of his off of the Medium article that they dropped about him by Tanner Castora. You guys go read that article by Tanner Castora by the Medium. Great article, great read, talking about Mark Gronowski and why he decided to stay at South Dakota State. They did a great job. Please go read that. Please go read that. I'm only going to be reading quotes from it, but it's by Tanner Castora. Tanner Castora, the Medium. Go read it. Mark Gronowski article. It's called A Peek Behind the Curtains of How and Why Mark Gronowski Stuck with the Jackrabbits by Tanner Castora, the Medium. Not even the Medium. Medium. Go read that. Some conversations were more general. Others offered a specific six-figure dollar amount, and one expressed the school was willing to pay whatever it took to bring Mark into the fold. The conversations were short, telling Ray if Mark were to enter the portal, talks would continue then. So I think you get a little peek into how they mentioned one thing the one thing they mentioned in the article was how teams would, try to get to Mark Gronowski, talking to family friends, talking to family, talking to friends. They're not able to talk to him directly, and I don't know if they can talk to his coaches directly, but they can talk to everybody around him. And they also talked about how, his girlfriend would get asked by people if he was going to return, would she follow him? His coach, his offensive coordinator, had just left to go to Northwestern. So that's obviously, they said that was like 40 miles away from his home in Naperville, Illinois. That's an easy jump over to him to go somewhere in Illinois to play home where all his family's at, to play where his old offensive coordinator is at. But ultimately, he said he looked at the landscape. Obviously, he looked at the Northwestern roster and realized that they gave up 50-something sacks in 2023 alone. His squad it's only given up 29 sacks in the last 2 seasons. So he's looking at that. Obviously, they lost a couple of offensive line weapons. They lost like 3 offensive linemen as well. But I think they're pretty tooled up to be pretty decent in 2024. So look at his roster, back-to-back national championships, like, you got it made for you, bro. And one thing that he mentioned that I loved, I didn't even put this quote on here, but one thing he mentioned that I loved is like, I think his dad might have said it, or he might have said it, but it's like, the grass is pretty dang green here. And 100%, that's something I say all the time. These kids who jump in the transfer portal think that the grass is greener on the other side, and it's not. I'm here to tell you that it's not. I mean, it might be. It might be. I've never been in the portal. I've never transferred anywhere, so I don't know. A lot of people do find that the grass is greener on the other side. A lot of people do find success on the other side. But I think more times than not, when you're transferring from an FCS school to an FBS school, I think a lot of those guys might choose to stay where they were, because a lot of those guys find out that the grass is indeed not greener. I can point to a bevy of situations that have happened this offseason, that have happened in past off seasons, where guys transferred and found out that the grass 100% was not greener. I'm not going to go down that tangent, but another quote. He's talking about his head coach, who he was very actively talking to while he was talking about transferring with his coach, Jimmy Rogers. They were very, had a good back and forth. They have a great relationship, it seems like, and he was very forthcoming with information for Mark and was there for Mark when Mark was thinking about transferring. I mean, just think about this, like, we just went to back-to-back national championships. One you were a defensive coordinator from, one you were the head coach for. And, now I'm thinking about transferring. A lot of coaches would not be, helping you talk to scouts, giving you information pertinent to you transferring. Like, they wouldn't be helping you, because it's like, obviously you're leaving my squad. I don't want you to leave. I'm not going to help you leave. But Jimmy Rogers, I applaud him for being there for his quarterback and just understanding, like, this isn't about you. And also, I'm going to read the quote and then I'll read what I said afterward. He was super supportive throughout the whole thing, which was kind of cool from your head coach that you have the opportunity to leave. And I said, I would be too if you had taken me to an undefeated season and a championship. It's like, what does Jimmy Rogers have to be in his first season as a head coach? Mark Gronowski and obviously his coaches and everybody else on the squad, Isaiah Davis, those offensive linemen, those defensive players, the Yankee bros, like everybody who was a part of it helped get them to that national championship. But it's all about the quarterback. Mark Gronowski is 37-3 as a starting quarterback. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. Like, that isn't just because of scheme. Some of that is because he is a really good quarterback, 100%. But just think about that. Like, you just took me to a 15-0 season, national championship, like MVC championship, MVFC championship. Like, what do I have to be? Like, what do I have to be? You've given me everything I needed. Like, you've done everything for me. Why would I withhold any information from you? Why would I not help you live out your freaking dreams? Like, you've given me everything. I have nothing to be angry about. I have nothing to be mad about. I have nothing, like, I can say nothing but good things. And this is me speaking for Jimmy Rogers, but like, I can say nothing but glowing things about you because you've given me everything. So in return, all I can do is give you everything. And that's what I think I see and read in the Medium article written by Tanner Castora. Great article. But like, that's what I read from that is like, why would he withhold anything? You literally just gave him gold, like 15-0, national championship, first year as a head coach. Like, I'd be happy too. I'd be helping you. What do you need? What do you need? What do you want? He said he's getting six-figure offers to Power 5, G5 schools, and he decided to stay. I mean, that just shows the relationship that he has with South Dakota State. That shows the relationship that he has with Jimmy Rogers. That shows the loyalty that he holds to his school. Because I can think of a lot of players who would be in Mark Gronowski's position, even last year, be in his position and would have transferred. Much less this year. Walter Payton Award, national champion, back-to-back national champion, undefeated season, first undefeated season, I think, in South Dakota State history. Like, everything. He's on top of the world, and I know a bunch of schools would love to have him. You look at his record, you look at what he's done at South Dakota State. He doesn't lose often, if ever. Like, why wouldn't you want to have him? And he decided to stay. I think it's awesome. As the weeks went on, more Power 4 teams from the Big Ten and ACC began showing interest. But with Mark not in the portal, teams were not permitted to have direct contact with him. Therefore, whether it was friends of friends or agent or QB guru who was connected in the world of college football, the individual would reach out to Ray, his dad, making it clear so and so University had real interest in Mark. I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome that he stayed, but I think it's interesting that we get to see a little peek in how, negotiations are done when guys are not in the portal, but you want somebody to jump in the portal. You want to entice somebody to jump in the portal. Hey, such and such recruiter from such and such school told me they got this amount for you. But that's also why I think it can get very dicey. And I think that's why you're seeing the Rashada situation with Georgia, the Georgia quarterback, who I think was at Florida and then left, and now he's suing Florida basically because he was promised this money and he did not get this money. And now, he's looking back on it and is like, no, you said this and you didn't. We don't have to go about that. We're not talking about that. But I think, that might be some of the reasons why some of these guys get played like that, is because you're hearing about these dollar amounts word of mouth from between, you're not hearing it from the person, from the horse's mouth. You're hearing it through somebody. So then you jump in the portal because you heard that through somebody. You go to this school and they're like, we never said that. You heard that from such and such. We didn't say did we put that in writing? I think that's why also a lot of these athletic directors are looking to protect these players with the advent of whatchamacallit. I think that's why they're trying to protect these players with taking the third parties out of it, because I think things can get dicey with these third parties. Like, unless things are in writing, it can get very tricky. And I see it happening much less with an athletic department than it would with a third party, Either way, we're not talking about that. Mark Gronowski, applaud to you, man. Good luck in the 2024 season. You've had a great career so far. I hope it continues. But great story. Tanner Castora, go read it. By Medium. Tanner Castora. I keep wanting to say the Medium, but Medium, Tanner Castora, a peek behind the curtains of how and why Mark Gronowski stuck with the Jackrabbits. You guys let me know in the comments what you thought about that, and we will move on. Go read that article. Okay, we are looking at a breakdown of the positions for 2024 FBS to FCS transfers. This is by Sam Herder at Sam Herder FCS on Twitter or X, whatever you call it. Go look at anything he posts, FCS. If you want more FCS news, go look at him. Either way, a breakdown of the positions from transfer. I thought this was interesting. 100 receivers entered the transfer portal, or there was 100 receivers that came from the FBS down to the FCS level. I think that's no surprise. People are always looking for receivers. A lot of them won't hit, but if you get one or two that do hit, you've got a pretty damn decent receiving core. You don't need a lot, but you need a couple. You need one or two. I think you need two at the very least to be good. You look at a lot of teams. Montana has 3. Montana State, I would say, had 2 last year. Cleveland Thomas, you got Dowler, and then they had somebody else who I'm forgetting about, but you guys can remind me. But then South Dakota State, they had 2. North Dakota State, they had 2. Like, the list can go on, but most good teams have 2 receivers. So to see 100 receivers from the FBS transfer down to the FCS, that's no surprise. 96 defensive backs, no surprise. 74 offensive linemen, not really surprised there. 59 D linemen. People are always, I'm surprised the O lineman and D lineman numbers aren't higher because, maybe that's because guys aren't transferring as much from those positions. But I think I think that's the position that is needed the most at the FCS level. If you look at the differences between the FBS level and the FCS level, it's the trenches, the D line and the O line. So maybe that means that as many linemen, or maybe more linemen are staying at the FBS level. Like maybe they're entering the transfer portal and staying at the FBS level. But to see 74 O linemen go from FBS to FCS and 59 D linemen go from FBS to FCS, I honestly would think those numbers would be a little higher because that is the position of need at every school. Besides, like, every school needs offensive linemen and D linemen because it starts in the trenches. If you can't win in the trenches, you're not going to win at the FCS level. The 2 things you need at the FCS level. Look at any team that wins at the FCS level. Look at any team that wins at any level of football. These are the 2 things you need. Offensive line, trenches, offensive line, defensive line, and a quarterback. You can work your way around everything else. Look at the Patriots with Tom Brady. Tom Brady and a good offensive line. I can't remember what their defensive lines were like, but their defenses were always good. Defense, offensive line, quarterback. Those are the 3 things. And it starts with the D-line to me. It starts with the D-line. Like, look at Montana. They were great last year. Alex Gubner was a centerpiece of that defense. Don't get me started on South Dakota State, North Dakota State. They always have good offensive line, defensive line. South Dakota State, that offensive line was freaking ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's no surprise that Isaiah Davis ran for 1,500 rushing yards. No surprise at all. Either way, 51 linebackers, 45 quarterbacks, 39 running backs, 29 specialists, so punters, kickers, do long snappers transfer? I don't even know. Got to be punters and kickers. And then 27 tight ends. I'm trying to think if there's any position like DBs. I guess safeties would be in DBs. Safeties, yeah. So every position is covered. 27 tight ends. I don't know why tight ends are the last position. I don't know what these numbers mean. What do you guys think about this? This is just something I saw, wanted to talk about it. I think it's no surprise that wide receivers and DBs are at the top. People are always looking for DBs and wide receivers. I think that's probably the position that transfers the most too, because I think schools recruit so many of them, but only so many can play. Like in terms of corner, only 2 corners are on the field at one time. 3, maybe 4. Corners are on the field at the same time. Most of the time, it's only 2. A lot of times with the defenses these days, 3 corners are on the field at the same time. If you're talking about Montana's defense, only 2 corners are on the field at the same time. Like, it depends on what defense you run, too. So no surprise to see DBs up there. Wide receivers, obviously there's a lot of wide receivers on the field, but I think those are, like, I don't know. I would love to know the hit rate on a receiver, but no surprise to see a bunch of FBS guys come down to the FCS. Bring them on, man. Bring them on. Bring them on. You can find your home down here at the FCS level, man. You can find your home. You can make a name for yourself, man. But yeah, you guys let me know what you guys think about that in the comments, and we will move on. One more topic. I'm not going to be on this one for too long, but former American Conference commissioners comments on a G5 playoff. So this is also another Hero Sports article. I just took this one answer from this G5 commissioner talking about potential G5 playoff. I didn't, but you guys go look at Hero Sports articles. Look up Hero Sports on Twitter, on the internet. Go find them. They do great work. That's also partnered with that's Sam Herder. A lot of times with Hero Sports. I don't think this article was Sam Herder, but Sam Herder, you can find Hero Sports. Look up Hero Sports, you can find Hero Sports. Go to them, FCS football. Either way, his answer to being asked if he would like there to be a G5 playoff, something around those lines about a G5 playoff. No, I never have. Like, I think they asked, like, do you like the idea of a G5 playoff? No, I never have. It's come up before. I don't want to further isolate us from the so-called A4, because then the danger is that people view you as being in a separate division, and that's what it could lead to. You guys are a separate division though, bro. Like G5 and P4s most of the times are not playing the same level of football, bro. Come be with FCS, bro. Come over here. Like, we'll embrace you. We will love you for what you are. We won't ask you to be anything else than what you are. Either way, what it could lead to. Even now, if we don't spend the money that the A4, or at least do what they are doing, opt into what it looks like this lawsuit settlement is going to entail, they could easily say you are not even eligible for CFP. We will play you, but you will be like FCS, considered in a third division, and I just felt anything we did that would contribute to that isolation would stamp us as G5. I do hate the term, but I think anything we do in that regard, he hates the G5 term. I do hate the term, but I think anything we do in that regard is going to hurt us long term. Even though there might be some immediate appeal to it, I don't really find it appealing, but some people do. But I would urge our guys not to fall in that trap. So he doesn't like the idea of a G5 playoff. Obviously, it kind of seems like he's poo-pooing on the FCS, which I don't appreciate. FCS is great football. FCS, I mean, bro, let's be real, bro. G5 ain't even competing with some of the FCS. Like, some of the G5, like Conference USA and Big Sky, same thing to me. Same thing to me. Sunbelt, Big Sky, same thing to me, dog. I only see two G5 conferences as ahead of FCS conferences. That is the what am I trying to say? Missouri, Mountain West, and the American Conference. And there's only a few schools in those conferences that I see as better than the FCS. Like, I don't think it's not a huge gap. So for him to say like it would be like the FCS, bro, you're more like the FCS than you are the Power 5. Let's be real. Let's be very, very real about this. I told you I wasn't going to be on this for long, but truth be told, before I had started this, I hadn't read this whole quote, and it kind of got me fired up reading this quote. We will play you, but you will be like the FCS, considered in a third division, and I just felt like anything we do could... Anyway, I'm not going to finish that. We would be like the FCS. You're more like the FCS than you think, dog. And I know this is a former American Conference commissioner. I know he's just speaking on in regard to the G5s. But, bro, you are way more like the FCS than you are the P5s. Like, you're not going to be the P5s, bro. You're not going to be able to compete with the P5s, bro. You might as well merge with the FCS and let's just duke it out every year. You guys come play with us. We'll come play with y'all. Pause. Against y'all, and we can make a happy marriage. Instead of making this 3-division thing, let's make it 2 divisions. The P5s, let them go do what they want. They got all the money, they got all the rev share, they got everything they want. They got everything they want. We can make a super competitive conference, which what the FCS used to be, and bring it back to the old days. All y'all Blue Buds, come back. JMU, come back. SMU, come down. Boise State, come back. Nevada, we don't need you, but come back. Like, who else am I forgetting? Some of those. Appalachian State, come back. Come on over. San Diego State, come on. Fresno State, come on. Like, what? What's the beef? We are all the same. We are all playing the same football. We're all honestly recruiting the same players. Like, I would love for 1 year, just like, let's do a test year. Merge the G5s with the FCS. Let's just see. Why not find out? What's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen? Like, I don't see a problem with that. I don't. And I don't know why the P5s, the P4s don't just go off on their own. Like, they obviously have different money than everybody else. They obviously get the best recruits in the country. G5, FCS is where it belong. They belong together. It's a marriage that to me is bound to eventually happen. I don't see any other way than the top tier FCS schools and the G5, all the G5s merging together. I don't see any other way. Like, and I don't know why it can't be that way. That seems like a marriage mate. Like, that seems like a perfect marriage to me. A perfect marriage. Am I tripping? Can somebody in the comments please let me know, am I freaking tripping about this? Because I don't think I am. I think the FCS and G5s are made to be together. We are... Never mind. Never mind. I was about to sing the wrong song. I was about to sing the completely wrong song. But please let me know in the comments, like, am I tripping on this? Or are the G5s and FCS made to be together? I think they're made to be together. I think it's a match made in heaven. I think it's destined to happen. And I think... I'm done with this topic now. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. You guys let me know about what you guys think about that. What do you guys think about his comments? Are you just enraged by him? Or do you think he's right? Do you think, are you a G5 person? You think the G5 deserves to stay with the P4s and that they are going to duke it out for life? And, you know, they got that one CFP spot, so that's worth something. Do you think they should stop calling it the G5? Obviously, they're not. But what do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments, and we will be done. Okay, I want to thank you guys for tapping into the video today. Thank you guys for viewing my channel. Thank you guys for viewing my videos every week. I appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you guys leave a comment. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys like the video, like it, subscribe more than anything, but like the video and leave me a comment so that my video will get played to other people and be recommended on the feed. I thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys for tapping into the channel. And I will catch you guys next time. Thank you guys so much.